Today, we judge the gods!
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes.
we're going to rank the O'Hare and Aclazotz gods. Aclazotz is on a different team, so it doesn't get to be called an O'Hare, which apparently is Quiche language for elder or something along those lines. So yeah, that's neat. And I shouldn't stop there. Apparently, a lot of the Oltec stuff, the Oltec language in this set is derived or closely related to Quiche, which is the currently spoken descendant of, is it Mayan?
I do not remember specifically, but it is a currently spoken descendant of a native language.
Yeah. And there are
and it's pretty
millions
cool.
of people still speaking it.
Like, this is a living language. It's very cool that they actually used some of this in this set.
I mean, the Spanish, like Abuelo and a lot of the Dusk Legion names are pretty obvious, but Quiche is a more obscure language.
A little bit of a deeper cut for most Westerners.
Yeah. That was great. So in any case, we're going to rank the 5 gods. So let's first go through them just at a high level.
Yeah.
So we'll go in Wooburg order because that is the thing.
That is the way.
Yes. So O'Hare Tak, Deepest Foundation, is, according to the Planeswalker's Guide, which is the large lore article that Wizards publishes for every set. It's the kind of primary god, the head of the pantheon, like Zeus or Jupiter, that sort of thing. It is associated with cities and people and everything is the primary one worshipped. But functionally, it's a big 6-drop, 6/6 with vigilance, and it triples your tokens. Are we interested in tripling tokens?
Generally, yeah, I think we are.
Yeah.
More, and it is creature tokens specifically.
Oh yeah, I haven't counted that. That's right.
Well, that is, still great. Of course, my brain went to like, what's the most like busted thing I can do?
Yeah.
But there's plenty of great creature tokens that we could triple that we would be happy to see triplicate copies of.
And the mechanic of this cycle of gods in this set is that when they die, they come back as land, and if you meet some condition, you can pay, I think it's always 2 and 1 of their color, to flip it back into the god. And it is resurrected into the game. And this one, you have to be attacking with 3 or more creatures to flip it back. That one seems really restrictive to me compared to some of these others. Moving on, O'Hare Pakpatik. This is the god of knowledge, very appropriately blue. Its just static effect is all your instant spells, not instants and sorceries, as I found out. Disappointingly, just instants have rebound when you cast them.
I mean, that is very on theme for blue, though, because I don't want to be playing at sorcery speed.
Blue has sorceries?
I mean, they do, but I don't want to be playing...
sorceries that I tried to give rebound with his card.
That's fair. Just, when I'm playing blue, I'm not trying to play it or I'm not trying to play at sorcery speed. So,
Fine. I mean, you're right. I'm still mad about it.
That's fair.
And but this one's interesting, that if it dies and you want to flip it back from its land state, it just happens over time because you just put 3 time counters on it. Every time you tap it for mana, you remove 1, and then you can just reactivate it. So that's the easiest one to do. And I have, in the play queue, I've been playing with all of these a good bit, unfortunately, except for the red one. But this one I've been able to flip a number of times because that's just feasible. Moving on to the black god, Aclazotz. Not an O'Hare, because not welcome at the party.
Yeah, I think that title is reserved. That seems to have an honorific connotation that...
Yeah, the other 4 are the gods of the Oltec people. This is a god in that pantheon, but it's the evil god. Just generally the bad evil god who's always trying to kill everyone and everything. And the other gods, their lore isn't well established. We don't know where they came from. Presumably, maybe they're always part of the plane. Maybe they came into existence at some point. But Aclazotz has a specific backstory. So we're in the 5th age right now, Ixalan. The back of Huatli is Roar of the Fifth People. The Fifth People is basically all the humans who are alive in the 5th age. humans as we think of them exist only within the Fifth Age. When the Fifth Age started, the humans were born. When the humans were born, the Fifth Age started. Aclazotz is the lone survivor from the Fourth Age, in which he apparently was mortal and did something very, very, very blasphemous, probably, to become an immortal god and survive into this next age. So that's kind of who he is. But
I imagine that he would tell that story differently, but
I don't know. He might just be fine with it.
He might be fine with that.
But mechanically, on attack, his attack trigger. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're supposed to save the ranking.
Yes.
But I just love it so much. You attack, and your opponent has to discard a card, and you create a 1/1 black bat creature token. And to get him back, once he's died and you want to flip him back, and he has lifelink, of course. But if you want to flip him back, the only requirement is that someone has 1 or 0 cards in hand.
I like that they specified a player.
Yeah.
Because that could even be you.
Yes, it sure can.
And I love things like that with flexibility.
All right, we'll talk more about Aclazotz soon. O'Hare Ashoniel?
I think that's the pronunciation that we determined the last time we were looking at this. It's kind of the zo or shol.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a. I feel like it's a bit of a subtle distinction, but
yeah,
it's not a zo. It's supposed to be more of a sho.
Ashoniel. Yeah. In any case, he is the feisty god, I guess.
Very red.
Yeah, very red. Apparently, when Aclazotz is around, that's clearly the bad guy. When Aclazotz is not around, I think he's more in the Loki role, where he's kind of mischievous. He's apparently always getting into fights.
This guy's stirring the pot. I mean,
yes,
look at him.
Yes, that is correct. And he's siblings with Talk, so sibling rivalry, I guess. Mechanically, he increases the strength of non-combat damage whenever non-combat damage is done by a red source, I believe. Yes, a red source. If it's less than his power, he bumps it up to his power. And we found that out very painfully during our two-headed giant pre-release when our opponents had 2 in their pool.
Yeah.
And there's some card, and it's some kind of draft chaff. Oh yeah, and it just deals 1 damage to everything. But now it deals 4 to everything,
which is so much better with this guy on the field. Yeah, we found that out the hard way. That was
it's kind of hard to build around him really in draft. But that's not true, because there's the 1/3 the militia, Sunshot Militia. They let you tap 2 things and deal 1, and that's turned out to be a real thing on its own. That kind of works, at least in Boros, works pretty well. So with him, that sort of becomes really real. But his condition to flip back over once he's died is that you must deal 4 damage, non-combat damage, to anyone. Okay, so it can, players, or it doesn't specify. It can be a player or it can be their creatures. Still, if you build the deck around cheap, efficient ways to deal like 1 damage and suddenly it's magnified, you're probably not going to have a lot of things that can deal 4 at a time and flip him back over. And I haven't encountered him a lot in the queues yet, but I've never seen him flip back over. And moving on to the last, O'Hare Kazlam, who is the goddess of farmers, ranchers, gardeners, basically the nature goddess. And I love this effect almost as much as I like Aclazotz's. If it deals combat damage to a player, reveal that many cards, and it tramples from the top of your library, and you can just cheat 1 creature and or 1 land into play from among them.
Yeah, that's a fun time.
Yes. And then if it dies and you want to flip it back over, its condition is, harkening back to the original Ixalan and Ascend, you have to control 10 permanents.
I like that.
And when this dies and turns into land, it's a permanent. So if you cast it, then you're already at 6, just absolute minimum. You probably have some other stuff going on. So I have found you can flip this back over quite easily. But before we get into ranking these, we need to also address the Ancient One, which is a sort of weird case. It's a god, but it's not templated like any of these other gods.
Yeah.
It's not an O'Hare, and it's not mentioned in the Planeswalkers guide.
Yeah, what is this?
I don't know. It's a mystery.
It's very cool.
It is. That is true.
Aesthetically, it's really cool. I wish we knew more about it, like from a lore standpoint.
Yeah.
I'll probably be making I make up a lot of my own little stories about some of these creatures, so which maybe someday I will share with our viewers, because I think I'm going to write some lore for one of those other creatures we talked about.
Yes,
it's Ukbenbach. But anyway, yeah, this one is interesting. It's a 2-drop 8/8, but it has Descend 8, so can't attack or block unless you have 8 or more permanent cards in your graveyard. So kind of a threshold effect. And then you've got the draw discard, which target player mills, so equal to the mana value of the card you discard. So I mean, I like that it has a built-in way to get there. Yeah.
It's definitely an internally consistent card.
Yeah.
It makes sense with the themes of the set. It just doesn't match with the rest of the gods.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's a spirit god. I wish we knew more about this thing's story.
Previously I've looked at this art, and I've just thought, oh, that looks like it's in the caverns. But this moment where I'm looking at it, I'm thinking that's not actually the case. It looks like it's got a temple at its base, and in the place of its head, more or less, it looks like it's one of the sun icons that are like the set symbol that are on the top of every temple in the core. So maybe this is actually something happening in the core. And also, look at these large shapes around the outside. Those are the same shapes you see on the full art swamp.
Yeah.
And in a couple of other bits of art. And in the epilogue of the story, I think it's Quintorius is basically at this forbidden place that is this. These giant things, I think, are remains of either the Fomori invaders who caged the inner sun, or of the cage around the sun. It's related to that, ancient event that preceded all of the story. So maybe it ties into the Fomori somehow. I don't know. Or maybe it's just from the third or the second age, or something just, older than time, kind of filling the same role as the Balrog. And
I think as much as I often look at these things and I'm like, wow, I really wish we knew more about this creature. It's so cool. There is also a fun element of mystery in not having a specific answer and getting to tell ourselves our own stories about what this could be or what this represents.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so now I've introduced all of the gods. Let's talk about who's the best god.
Okay.
And maybe that's a silly thing to say, because I think between us, I know who the best god is. Who's number one?
I mean, for me, it's going to be Aclazotz.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And for me, I think it might be too. So between our two votes, it's clearly Aclazotz in first.
Yeah.
But then my strong second is got to be Khazlim.
Okay.
And to be fair, I am a Golgari player.
Yeah, no, I definitely respect that. I think you can probably guess quite easily what my number 2 pick is.
I don't know if I can, but I'm gonna guess Pakpatik.
For a number of reasons.
Okay.
I think my primary secondary color that I play is blue.
Yeah.
And I'm very partial to snakes, serpents, everything in that realm. So when I saw that card, before I even knew what it did, I was like, I love this. This is great. But I also really like what it does, and I like the...
Have you played with Pakpatik?
Not yet. I've been wanting to build something possibly in Commander doing with that. Yeah. I haven't quite decided because I have so many unfinished projects, but...
Yeah. So I've gotten 2 decks that I'm playing the play queue right now, built on these gods. One is Simic, so I have Khazlim and Pakpatik in that one, and then I have an Orzhov with Aclazotz and Tak. And the Simic one has been a lot more fun for me. But Khazlim is just managing to cast and hit with Khazlim. 5-drop, incrementally harder to cast than the 4-drop, but you're in green, so it's not really a big problem. And they play nicely together. But when you hit and you get that trigger and you just get to start filling the battlefield with nonsense. Maybe even another copy of one of the gods. And if you do that, well, the other one turns into a land that ramps you and serves as backup in case the current version dies.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun. In the same deck, and to be fair, I didn't build it as much around Pakpatik, so it doesn't have that many instants to trigger off of. But it is a 4/3 flyer who recurs itself. It's just pretty good. But between those two, I'm enjoying Kozlem.
Those do seem like they would be very fun together.
And then, so are we pretty much in agreement that between second and third place, it's going to be those two?
Yeah, I think so. Right. I don't know if we need to have some kind of tiebreaker, or if maybe.
Well, let's get into opinions on the last two, and let's see if we need to negotiate there. So, my feeling on Talk is that a 6-drop is just so expensive. In Limited, a 6-drop has to basically win you the game. Yeah. And this one, if you've done that, are you going to then have a chance to cast anything that makes tokens? That's been my same experience in the play queue, where I'm doing, kind of non-competitive constructed nonsense. And I have never managed to flip this back, and very, very few times have I gotten to even trigger it. I mean, it's happened, but I think it's happened once out of like 20 games. Whereas Aclazotz, I have caused a lot of discards. I have made bat tokens with Aclazotz.
Yeah.
The whole point of this deck is trying to get them both out and, get 3 bats, but that still hasn't happened.
Yeah, this feels to me more like I don't really see this being a real big play in Limited, just because, I mean, you get a 6/6 body with Vigilance, which is cool. Not disparaging that in any way. Yeah. But I'd like for this to do more as a limited bomb for paying 6 mana, because I don't see you doing anything after paying for that most of the time that's going to trigger this. And like you said, more difficult to flip back over. This one, to me, is probably designed more with Commander in mind.
Most of these are just flexible enough to be Commander playable and other construct play. This one doesn't seem to really be.
This one strikes me as the thing that you're going to wedge into your token deck to just do something really stupid.
But then I'm comparing it to like Mondrak. It's very similar. Is Mondrak restricted to creature tokens only?
I think it's anything.
And it can become indestructible, and that seems like a big important difference. This thing just dies. Yeah. You play it and it dies.
And then you're probably not going to flip it back over, which is sad.
Yeah. So for me, this is probably in last place. Whereas Ash O'Neil, like I said, I haven't really played with, but we've had that experience of getting beat down with it.
I've seen this in action. So.
And I've played against it a couple of times in the play queue, and it can do some cool things. It's not my speed so much, but I certainly have it above Talk.
Yeah, I struggle to play red in Magic at all. It's just something that I seem to have a bit of a mental block with. I keep trying different stuff, I think.
Me too. So maybe this is just our bias.
It could be bias.
But we have the white card in 5th place, and I like white, right? So.
Yeah, I generally do enjoy playing white, but in this instance, I think this is probably 4th place for me.
Yeah, and just the fact that it's a 4-drop. Casting cost matters.
It does.
All right, so then we just still have to negotiate Kozlem versus Pakpatik. Or we don't. All right, let's fight.
All right.